Hi, and welcome to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast, a weekly conversation with women who found their home in the Mojave Desert. I'm your host, Dawn Davis, and this is episode number 18. If you're a first-time listener, welcome, and if you're a returning listener, thanks so much for coming back. In addition to the podcast, we have a website, desertladydiaries.com. We also are on Facebook, and we're also on Instagram, so follow us there. If you have a suggestion for an interview or a question or a comment, you can email those to desertladydiaries@gmail.com, or you can call and leave a message at 760-392-1293. And as I mentioned last week, a few folks have asked if there is a way for them to support the podcast. So I've installed a donate button on the pages of the website, which again is desertladydiaries.com. This week's guest is Kim McGowan, a partner in the Joshua Tree Candle Company, who after moving to Joshua Tree reached out to an old friend, only to find she was also living in the high desert. Hi, and welcome to Desert Lady Diaries. Today, my guest is Kim McGowan. She lives in Joshua Tree with her husband Ryan and her two daughters Kylie and Madison. She was born in California, but lived most of her young life in Missouri, coming back to California in 1998. She works for the United States Marine Corps in the Exceptional Family Program, and her husband Ryan, along with their two partners, Kurt and Suzette, and herself, are owners and operators of the Joshua Tree Candle Company. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, as we normally do, our first question usually is, what was your first encounter with the desert?
My first encounter with the desert was when Ryan, my husband, talked me into coming off the mountain. We lived in Big Bear. That's where we met. It had just snowed, and he said, let's go off the mountain, go hang out with some of my friends. It'll be a good chance for you to meet them. That was my first time in the desert. I was really good, though. I loved it. I could say that I fell in love.
Really?
Pretty quick.
Yeah, it does that to you.
It does. Yes.
So then what was the process? How did you decide to leave Big Bear? Is that where you just met, or were you all living there at that time, too?
Well, we both lived there, but we had moved up there separately. We didn't know each other.
Okay.
I had come out for the summer. My grandmother had a restaurant in Big Bear, so I came out to work for her in the summer, and that's when I decided to stay. And that winter, I worked at Snow Summit, and that's where I met Ryan, and the rest is history. So, yeah.
So how did you make the decision then to leave Big Bear and come down to live in the high desert?
You know, that's a good question. I think it was just a matter of we had started dating, and the season had ended, and he was going to be coming off the mountain for the summer, and I just went with him. I don't even think that there was, a thought. I just knew.
He just came. Was he stationed here as a Marine, or
he's not a Marine? No,
okay.
He's from Joshua Tree. He had just gone up there. He had graduated high school and moved up there with a couple friends, worked, and ended up staying there through the summer, the first season, and then that's when we had met that first winter. And then after the second season, we came down to the desert.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So obviously, when I ask about how you started getting initiated into the community, Ryan had already lived here, so he had friends, family, so you just kind of came into that space. How about friends of your own? How did that all come together?
That was tricky. I was always known as Ryan's girlfriend, or who's that? She's new, that type of thing.
Well, it's small here.
Yeah, absolutely. He did have friends that were great, and they accepted me right away. A cool little story is one of my best friends that I grew up with, she and I lived in San Bernardino when we were younger. Both of our parents had split up, and she moved to Moreno Valley. I moved to Missouri with my family. We kept in contact, and she came to Missouri one time, and when I was in California, I would visit her. But then after meeting Ryan and coming down, to Joshua Tree, there was some time that I hadn't talked to her, and then MySpace came out, and I looked her up on MySpace, and I found her, and lo and behold, she was living in Yucca Valley, of all places.
Oh my gosh.
She married one of my husband's friends, who they lived on the same street growing up, and they met in Big Bear like we met in Big Bear.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really crazy. So, of course, I got in contact with her right away, and then
Right.
Yeah, we've been in touch ever since, and it's nice because she's not from here and I wasn't from here, so it was nice to have each other.
Right, you could bond on that level and kind of learn about the place together. You had somebody to share that experience with.
Absolutely.
That's
and
great.
I think that it really helped us too to branch out and to meet other people and to introduce each other to other people. So
right.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's cool. So you're working on the base.
Yeah.
What's that like? Because I haven't been to the base. I don't really have a reason to go there, but I hear it's like a city unto itself.
It is. It's actually really nice. Ryan's grandfather was a retired Marine himself. He served in the Second World War, and so I had been out there many times. We'd go to the commissary and things like that. Mm-hmm. But when I first had experienced base, it was much smaller. Okay. So when I started working out there in 2014, it was much bigger. It's like its own city. Really, it's very self-sustaining. I can go by the PX on my way home and stop by there if I need milk or whatever, and without having to go into town. I like it on that level. I think it's not for everyone, I don't think, but I have come to see a whole different side of the military, and it's really helped me to find a deeper appreciation for our military, definitely.
So what is the work that you do? What is the Exceptional Family Member Program?
EFMP, or the Exceptional Family Member Program, is a mandated program. It extends across all branches of the military, but we support the Marine Corps. We can support any service, but we don't go through the whole initial process with them because it's not our branch, but we can assist. What happens is any active duty service member with dependents, typically it's a spouse or children, if they have anything ongoing, it could be medical, it could be mental health, it could be special education, that is criteria for the program. So what happens is whether they're enrolled previous to coming to 29 Palms, then once they get here, we make sure that they have all the resources that they need. Sometimes because they're coming from a bigger location, they don't have the one-on-one interaction that we can offer them in 29, which you would think coming from a bigger location they would know about the program, but that's not always the case. So say they get to 29 Palms and upon checking in, the Marine self-identifies to his command and says, oh yeah, my spouse or my child, they have X, Y, and Z. At that time, the command usually refers them to our program. So they'll come over and let us know, hey, my commanding officer said that I should come talk to you about the program, because most of the time they're not aware, what we offer or that it's mandated. What happens is we want to make sure that when a service member has a dependent with a medical need, that they have the services that they need in 29 Palms or within a good area. So they don't have to drive 3 hours one way to go see the doctor. That's just not feasible. And a lot of these families, they'll come from a whole different part of the country with no family, no friends.
No support system.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they get here and within a few months their husband or their wife deploy and they're here by themselves. And if they have a health condition, that can be really stressful for them. So we have come to find a lot of families that aren't familiar with our program have been driving to LA a couple times a week, they'll drive to Balboa, things like that, which is fine if they choose because they find a great doctor that they like. We can't tell them no when how hard it is as it is to find a good doctor. But we just want to make sure that they're not having financial hardships. We want to make sure that we can assist them with travel, mileage, reimbursement, things like that. But we'd prefer them not having to travel like that.
Right.
So what happens is between their monitor and the headquarters Marine Corps medical screeners in Quantico, they will go over the diagnosis that the family member has and just make sure before they endorse the orders to certain locations that they have those services available. Because in 29, in our surrounding areas, there are a lack of services for ABA providers, behavioral health, mental health.
Right. I think that's a whole nother conversation about that kind of stuff. We're lacking that in many places.
I completely agree.
Super important there's so much legislation that needs to be changed to fix that, but now we're getting sidetracked.
No, I agree. And, it's great because the Naval Hospital on base, they offer support for mental health for the service members, but not their dependents.
Oh, gosh.
So that's when they have to be referred to off-base And there are some places, but a lot of the time they're so inundated that they have a wait, list. And
Right.
people need services now. And it's not so bad to drive down to Palm Springs or Palm Desert, but when you add a couple children,
Right.
taking them out of school, whatever it might be, it just...
Right. It's a lot. Well, hopefully this new facility that's being built here, it's only 10 permanent beds, but they are going to have, I guess, outpatient
Yes.
available, so that will be helpful too. Kind of surprised me. There were some people from town that were, kind of questioning, why are they putting that there? Why didn't they put it by the hospital?
Yeah.
And I thought, does it matter? People need help, and we don't have it. So
Right.
this is just a stopgap, hopefully, for some folks that can make use of it.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think people realize the amount of mental health services that we really do need. And people just think of the worst case scenarios.
Right.
And a lot of the time, it's not that.
No,
People just
exactly.
need some therapy, maybe some need medication, but
which then, if they can get that and it's readily available, can avoid some of these extreme situations
Exactly.
potentially that happen.
Exactly.
So how many people would you say work out there on the base, all included?
oh,
And maybe
wow.
what the percentage of civilian versus enlisted? Any idea?
There are thousands, I can tell you, civilians and enlisted service members. That's a really good question, actually. I know I'm a stats person, so
Okay.
I know that I could get those numbers for
Oh.
you. But
I think it would just be interesting to know.
yeah,
Well, I don't have a lot of interaction with the base, so I don't really know what goes on out there, but I know that a lot of people travel in, I think,
They
from
do.
Yucca Valley to work at the base. And somehow, at some point, I stumbled upon a job site on the internet, and I couldn't get over the number of jobs that were available
There
out there.
are,
It's
and-
amazing.
between the PX, the commissary, the Child Development Center, that alone, that's a huge number
Right.
of jobs that are available. And the pay isn't bad either.
Right.
And
Well, and some of the jobs that I saw were even like IT or systems. I mean, they're decent paying, but they're high skilled.
Yeah.
So to find, the skilled people to come to this area and work there,
Right.
that's the thing. But I was really surprised.
yeah, and it's nice too because they don't just open it up to military or their dependents. It's nice that they do open it up to everyone.
Right.
Now they do have some where they prefer the service background, but not everything. I do think it's really nice that they do have spousal preference. So if there's a spouse that's applying for a job, if there's a tie, if you will, in an interview, they will lean towards the spouse, which I
Right.
think it's great because a lot of the time, your employment might be short-lived. You have a big resume because
Right.
you're moving around, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that you have the experience.
Exactly. And the skills
Right.
to make it happen.
Because
Yeah.
you're just supporting your Marines. So
Right.
wherever they go, you go.
Right. Exactly. So in all of that, how was this Joshua Tree Candle Company born?
Well, it's actually a funny story. I don't know if you would even believe me if I told you. But so our partners, Kurt and Suzette, we all live on the same street. They live down the street. We'd see them in passing a lot, and over time we got to know them. And Kurt had approached my husband Ryan and told him, I've got this candle idea, and he was an inventor. He invented nail hole filler. He's got a brilliant mind. And so they just hit it off, actually. And Kurt had shared some of his ideas and experiences with Ryan, and Ryan was at the point with his life / his current job where he was ready to make a transition. And I think the timing was just right. Ryan, he talked to me and he was like, I think I really want to do this. And of course, if you're happy, I'm all for that.
Right.
Because life is too short. If you're working a job that you hate, it makes you hate life.
Right. We already have enough of that in the world.
So, I think he did have to win me over a little more. I'm making myself sound a little better, I think. But I really, when he goes into something, I trust him. It started off slow, and it's crazy how it's all just worked out. When things are meant to be, it's just meant to be.
Right.
The fact that the four of us, we really work good together. We are all creative in different ways, and I think it just comes together So it's been really fun.
Now, how long has it been in existence?
Joshua Tree Candle has been in existence for, I would say, close to 2 years now.
Okay.
From the beginning to now. Maybe a little under 2 years.
Okay. And is it just Kurt and Ryan actually working on, because I went on the website and looked at some of the videos and saw them, I saw Ryan pouring and doing that sort of stuff. So how does that happen? Is it just him, or do you have a little bit of a staff now that you're...
It's actually the 4 of us and our kids.
Oh my gosh.
Our child labor, not really. No, we really do hands-on. It's all within our families. We don't have any outside
assistants, and you're not in a factory or anything like that.
We have a pour studio it was Ryan's welding studio, and now it has been converted to our candle pouring studio. It smells much better. So
probably a little cleaner.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely. So that really worked out. So it's on our property. As a matter of fact, last weekend, or the weekend before last actually, was our first pour workshop, which was really exciting.
I saw that. One of the girls I interviewed previously, Bianca Stoker, told me about this Desert Adventure Club.
Yes.
That's in one of the other newspapers that I usually get the High Desert Star, but apparently it's in one of the Desert Trail or something like that. But they have a website.
Yes.
And then I saw that you guys were doing that, but I was doing something else, so I couldn't do it. But how did it go?
That is another thing that happened that was really neat. The way things have just aligned, it's been perfect. But it was about a year ago in November that a couple of the editors from Desert Sun, they were in the beginning stages of Desert Magazine.
Desert Adventure Club.
Yeah, Desert Adventure Club. Thank you. And so they were talking about how they loved Joshua Tree and the surrounding areas, and they wanted to, just meet more of the local artists and showcase what they did. So they had approached us, and we thought, oh, we're nothing, we were really humbled and everything, but they planted that seed, and it was really cool because they did see something in our little company, and so since they put that in our mind, it kind of gave us something to focus on that we hadn't really thought about. It was really neat to see that to fruition, and it's been really fun, and we've gotten to meet a lot of people and see their skills and their creative talents. And it was really fun. Ryan, back to the question that you had asked, he's more of the face. He goes out and he does a lot of the everything, but
the PR or the
he does,
making the connections, because I see that you're available in about 43 locations, and they're not just around here.
No,
they're in West Hollywood. They're in what was the one I saw? I wrote it down. They're everywhere.
We're
Go on their website. I'll put it on the show notes. But it's jtcandle.com.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, wow, they're in over 40 places.
Yeah, we have a place in New York. We have a place in Michigan.
Right.
Chicago. Yeah, it's been really neat. And the cool thing is that it started in Joshua Tree. These people have visited and they loved Joshua Tree so much, and they happened to see the candle. I want to say that most of them saw them either at Coyote Corner or at the Visitor Center for the National Park.
Right. Which is interesting because I picked up that if they're bought at the Visitor Center of the National Park, all of the proceeds of that sale go to the Legacy Project, which is amazing. And then if you buy them in other locations, it's a portion of the proceeds go there. Not to get you sidetracked, but how did that come about?
We love the national park, and not only just because we live here, but that's what we do. We go to the park all the time. We hike.
It's our backyard.
It is, exactly. It's our playground, and when I meet somebody that's been here for however long and they're like, I've never been to the national park, I'm like, really? I don't think we can be friends anymore. Not really, but it's just, I don't think that there's ever possibility of experiencing every place because there's so much to see.
Right.
So it's really great. But the Legacy Fund, when the National Park started carrying the candles in there, and they told us about the Legacy Project, it wasn't even a question.
Right.
We were like, yeah, that's great. And it was their choice to put all the money towards it, to all the sales of them in the Visitor Center. Now, for us, we thought it was a really cool way for other people because most of us are on a budget, you know, and it's so hard when you go out to eat or you go to the store. They're always asking, do you want to donate to the Children's Miracle Network? Or, and how can you say no? You know, I have the hardest time saying no, but I'm also like, oh man, I wish I could do more. But so I think this is one way that it helps everybody, and people feel good about it too. Not only are they getting to take a candle home as a souvenir, but they're also giving back, and it goes right to our Joshua Tree National Park. Because a lot of funds split it up to all the national parks across the United States, which isn't a bad thing.
Right, exactly.
But we know that this is going right to our parks. So
and I read
really
about
cool.
the program, and it says it does like some rehabbing, you know, at the different, I don't want to say attractions, but that's the word I can come up with right now, like Keys Ranch and things like that. So it goes into some rehab, and it also goes into developing programs for kids through adults. Yeah. So that's really great.
Yeah, and the studies, how they have the coyote scat and the different illnesses that maybe certain plant they might die off, or you know, whatever it might be, or if the bighorn sheep get sick. There's so many things that go towards that. The funding, it's put to great use. It's awesome.
That's a wonderful thing. So thank you.
Thank you.
And your partners for doing that.
Yes.
That's amazing. And for also doing it with Mojave Desert Land Trust, because I noticed that on there as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. Everybody's so great. You know, I think we're so lucky to live in, you know, there's so many giving people here.
Right, exactly. It's talented so nice. And grateful and giving. Yeah.
And just genuine, you know, they really are.
Right. We've seen each other in person, 2 times?
Yeah.
I think.
Right.
But I think a lot of people here meet through Instagram and stuff like that. We just admire everybody's different perspectives, the photos they're taking of the beautiful place that we live and the cool things that they're doing. And we all just really enjoy being a part of that. That, for me, is a great community.
Me too. Yeah. It's like we're kindred spirits. It's, you know, it's neat. It's kind of funny. I laugh about it because I've told so many people this, but when I meet somebody for the first time, I'll go, oh my gosh, there's Dawn of the Desert, you know, because I'll say it by their name.
By our handle.
It's so funny, and a lot of the time my kids are looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, on Instagram. It's so funny.
How have they done growing up here?
They love it.
They love it.
We joke with them, we're moving to Alaska, and they have meltdowns. They love it. They really do. Yeah. But they're so easygoing, you know? They love their certain things, and they don't, want to bend on certain things. But for the most part, I don't know who these kids are. We hit the lottery with our kids, I feel. They're super creative. They're just good humans, but they love it just as much as we do.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you have another little side project that you do called the Tiny Cactus High Des. Is it just the tiny cactus, or is it?
It's the tiny cactus.
Okay.
There are a couple other tiny cactuses that I found. They're in completely different states. I think one might be jewelry and another one is another type of art. But I had some people that were like, I can't find you. So
added the high des. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Smart. So how did that all come about?
I've been doing woodworking for years and years. I was a stay-at-home mom for probably until our youngest finally went to school full-time. So that's what I did, aside from cleaning and
the
all
usual
the fun things,
home
the
stuff,
stay-at-home mom things.
Exactly.
So it was a great outlet. It was something that I could incorporate them doing with me. It was great as gifts, and I think it just over the years people have asked, here and there, can you make me this sign, or I've got this, can you make me that, and it's just been something that's gradually built up, and so
so it's just like a little side hustle you got going.
It is there. And sometimes it keeps me too busy, but I love it. I come home every day, and whether it's candles, because it's a family affair, we do candles of some sort. Usually Ryan does most of it, and then we either help with the labels, or the other night we actually all went up, we were pouring. It's a hustle. It's a family affair for sure. But
that's great though. It's something that you all have to do together.
For sure.
Which a lot of families these days don't really have that.
Right.
Or they're running in 10 different directions. Nobody's sitting at the table eating with each other, and this is a really nice way to just spend some family time and building a business.
It's so true. And, we'll sit around. Most of us are sitting on the floor, and we either have music playing or we'll have the TV playing in the background. But we do it together, and it's nice. We make sure that we do sit around the table together every night. That's our one thing. I was raised that was one thing that we always did.
Right.
We always sat together. My husband wasn't raised like that, but he loves that. His mom she worked in another town, and it just, how life is.
Right.
It's super busy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, but it's something that we've been that's important to us. We wanted to do that. And our girls are like, if we sit somewhere else, we're sitting at the bar and they're sitting at the table, what are you doing? It's so funny. What are we doing? But it's
what was I thinking?
Right. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So about this time, I ask if you would like to answer a question from my 17-year-old niece, because I think as part of this podcast, talking to all these amazing creative women, there's a lot to be learned.
I would love
for young ladies. So if you would pick a question and then just read it and think about it if you need to for a minute.
All right. How do I know where to live? Should I get an apartment or house or condo? So am I answering like I'm giving her
You can relay your own experience, like what worked for you or what you would recommend, knowing what you know now at the place you are in your own life.
Okay. Well, it's so funny because when I was younger, adults would always say, I'd never live in an apartment. That's the worst thing. And I always thought, I so want to live in an apartment. I don't know what it was about a condo or an apartment. It seemed so glamorous, and, all of the successful people were always living in apartments and condos. I know that sounds so funny, but, in your younger mind, you think these things. And I've actually have friends now who live in an apartment, my house, or a condo. And I think they're all awesome. I think it's just wherever you live, you make it your own, and it's your safe place. So I think that I can't imagine living in an apartment out here because I just can't even think of where there are apartments. But this is... I would never think, but this is a tricky question. I think that honestly, you just have to, if you find a spot where you love and you can find a house or an apartment or a condo, then go there, be there.
Geographically speaking,
absolutely.
Find some place that resonates with you.
If you find a place and there is no house, no condo, no apartment, camp there. Pitch a tent, get a tent trailer, do what you gotta do. Because if it makes you happy, then be there. I know a lot of people might think that sounds hokey or crazy, but it's
Well, you gotta go where you feel good. Because
That's
just
right.
like the people that are working at the jobs that they don't like, if you're living in a place that you don't like, that's 2 strikes against life, if you will. And,
it's true.
Life's too short to just put up with that sort of situation.
Right.
And not be where you want to be, doing what you want to do.
Exactly. And most of us aren't necessarily, our full-time jobs right now may not be our dream job, but it could be worse. I am very thankful for my job. Do I think it's my dream job? No, but I'm very thankful for it, and I love it. I love our military. The families go through so much that we only think of one side of it. So
it's almost like you're in a position to give back to them.
Absolutely.
For the service that they are giving us.
It's so true. And I tell them that there's not one, because I do check in and outs, because we are a mandated program. They have to check in when they get to the base, and they have to check out. And that's one thing that I might forget, one little detail about our program, but not one Marine leaves my office without knowing that I support them and I thank them for their service, because some people may not agree with this political, this stance or that stance. But at the end of the day, we aren't in a draft. They don't have to do this. They choose to do this job. And I'm grateful for that, because if they didn't, who knows where we would be. They do pick up their lives and move at a moment's notice.
It's a lot of strain on a family.
Yeah, not to mention their families. So that's actually kind of, now that I think about the apartment, house, or condo, for them, sometimes they live in a motel for a period of time, So, yeah, that was a hard one.
Well, thanks for taking it on.
Yeah.
Anything I know you're very busy, so I don't know if you have time to watch TV or read books or listen to podcasts, but is there anything in particular that you've has been attracting you lately, or that you really enjoyed, a movie or anything like that?
I love horror movies, and
it's your time of the year then.
It is. And so many people, and as I get older, I get more freaked out now that I have kids too. I think as if, that could really happen. Oh my gosh. Whereas when I was younger, it was like, that would never happen, you know? So the mom in me really freaks me out, but I love it. As far as watching TV, guilty pleasures, Netflix, whatever catches our attention, we might watch an episode of something right before bed. Otherwise, not much time for TV lately. Reading, I try to read as much as possible. I love it. Art, obviously, and everything else. So, but music, always. You
guys were up, did you go to Pappy's last night?
We didn't.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought I saw something on Facebook that you guys were out. That's where I ran into you one time.
Yeah.
Up there.
Yeah, that was fun. Pappy's is always good for a good time.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah, no.
There's so much good music here.
And my husband, he plays the saxophone.
I saw that on the video.
Yeah. He's continued to play it through high school. He's been playing since he was 8, I believe. His grandfather told him, you're either going to play a sport or you're going to play an instrument. And he put the sax in his hand, and he's been playing ever since.
Wow.
Our youngest just started playing the ukulele, and she just took off with it. And then our oldest is learning the bass.
Oh, well, you have to take something
no pressure,
up and have a band.
Oh, I play a mean air guitar. So,
there you go.
I'll be the backup dancer.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, you are very busy, and I really appreciate you coming and taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I will put links on the blog page when I put Kimberly's episode up. Do you go by Kimberly at all?
Only when I'm in trouble. But it doesn't, but it's okay because on base, everybody goes by their formal name.
Oh, so, I see. Gotcha. Yes. So we'll put links up so you can go out and get your own Joshua Tree candle, or you can get one of her really super cool desert signs that she makes on the tiny cactus. But thanks again for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to the Desert Lady Diaries podcast. There are so many ways to spend your time, so thank you for spending it here. I hope you got some insight and inspiration, and if you did, I hope you'll share that with me and the other listeners on the Desert Lady Diaries Facebook page. And if you're looking to buy one of those Joshua Tree Candle Company candles and you're local, you can find them at many local retailers. Or if you're not local, you can go on the Joshua Tree Candle Company website, which I will put on the blog page of the website. And I will also put a link to Kim's little business, The Tiny Cactus, which has all those unique home decor items as well. Next week, my guest is Yolanda Brown, who, in addition to being a wife and mother, is very involved in political activism and social justice. As a matter of fact, I ran into her this last weekend at our farmers market registering people to vote, so I hope you will tune in for that informative conversation. And to get into the holiday spirit, it would be great if you are in Joshua Tree or in the High Desert, if you'd come out to the High Desert Cultural Center's holiday program, which runs this Friday night, December 1st, until December 10th, and it's called Tune In for Christmas. It's a 1940s radio-type Christmas show. You'll not only see me performing, but you'll also see Mary Hunter and Haley Koyman, who have also been on the Desert Lady Diaries podcast. So again, that's December 1st, 2nd, 8th, 9th at 7 p.m. and December 10th is our matinee show at 2:30 at the High Desert Cultural Center. You can call there for tickets. It's 760-366-3777, or you can buy them online at their website, highdesertculturalcenter.org. And if you're enjoying this podcast, I hope you'll leave a customer review on iTunes or Stitcher. Your comments on SoundCloud and YouTube also help. The comments and reviews really help to spread the word about the podcast, and I am especially grateful to you, Evil Eyes QQ, who left a 5-star review on iTunes, and her review reads, I recently bought in the Joshua Tree area, and this podcast was like listening to my own journey. It's surreal, therapeutic, and empowering to listen to all these women explain the invisible force of the desert lust. Thank you all for sharing your journey. Yes, and thank you, Evil Eyes QQ, for spreading the word. I really appreciate it. I'll be back next week. See you then.